Hello pals, it is just the end of the year, which means it's time to start looking forward into 2025, and today I'm going to talk about my reading goals for next year. I'm super excited to share my yearly reading goals, and these goals are all about enjoying books while also challenging myself and just having a nice time, because reading for me is, after all, a hobby above all else. So grab a warm drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. So let's start with the obvious one, which is my numbers goal. I fluctuate with this every year. Last year I set my goal as 1, and I think the year before I had it set at 70, and this past year I have so far finished 101 books, and thinking on that I've decided I'm going to set my numbers goal at 50. I feel like that's very reasonable for me, and also allows me time to get into other hobbies like video games and crochet and crafting, some things that I find maybe I might neglect just a little bit because I've been reading instead. No shade there, I love reading, but I want to dive into other things that I know I really love as well. Something that I've actually done this past year, and I don't think I've mentioned on the channel, it's something that I'm going to bring forward into next year. For every book that I've read this year, I've put away €2. So it's obviously left me with over €200, and I haven't missed that money at all. And that leaves me with a nice little fund for books going into 2025. Now, I don't know how I'm going to spend that money, if I'm going to use it for pre-orders, if I'm just going to go blow it all. I don't know if I'm going to maybe buy nominees for awards. I'm not quite sure, but I know that money is for books, and that's something that I'm going to continue with my numbers goal into 2025. And what about you? Do you have a particular numbers goal or some kind of creative way to keep yourself motivated, to keep yourself going? Do you care about the numbers? Are you just here for fun? Let me know in the comments below. And next up then, I have a particular goal to read one very specific book that has been on my shelves since the middle of this summer. It is a massive classic. Every year I like to start out the year by reading one kind of large and intimidating book. One year it was War and Peace, and last year then it was one of Samantha Shannon's larger books, and this year we're going back to the intimidating classics. So I am planning on reading The Count of Monte Cristo. It's a bit of a chunk, and I always find classics to be a bit intimidating in terms of their language, in terms of their context, in terms of politics and history and things that I am largely unaware of. So I know that this book starts out with a man in prison or in jail for a crime that he didn't commit, I believe, and that's pretty much all I know. I've heard that this reads a lot more quickly than War and Peace. Now, with War and Peace it took me till mid-March to finish it. That said, I was taking my time with that, interspersing it with books that I wanted to read that were easy, that were fun, just to kind of come back up for air, because I did find that book to be challenging. But overall, because I spent 2.5 months with it, I ended up feeling like I had been so immersed in this world for such a long time, and I ended up loving it, which did quite surprise me. And I'm hoping for something similar with this book. I always hear this recommended as a book that is a long book, but that is absolutely worth the time and the investment that you put into it. So I'm really looking forward to picking this one up, hopefully on the 1st of January. I would love any tips from any of you who have read The Count of Monte Cristo. Did you enjoy it? Do you have any tips for maybe making it slightly less intimidating? I don't know what way I'm going to go about it. I don't know if I'm going to read a certain number of pages or chapters or something a day, or I'm just going to feel it out and read it when I feel like it. We'll see. Let me know if you have any tips down in the comments below. Next up then, I am planning on reading some more books that I find a bit intimidating. I want to read 6 non-fiction books this year. To some that will seem like a very low number, but I don't read a lot of non-fiction. I'm still trying to find my way with it. I'm trying to find what I enjoy. I typically don't really like memoirs or biographies or autobiographies. I typically don't like self-help. I don't like history. That said, there have been books within these categories that I have enjoyed, but I'm still trying to feel my way a bit. I do think I like books about the natural world and natural sciences, so that might be something to look into further down the line. If you have any must-reads though, do drop them in the comments below. I have had my eyes on The Wager by David Grann for ages. I've had it on my Kindle for what feels like forever, and I know that that is a non-fiction that people say like really reads like a captivating novel, so that's one I do hope to read this year. But I don't really have too many others in mind. There are a couple to do with like natural sciences and things like that, but overall I don't really know. I don't actually have all that many non-fiction books on my shelves. That is something that I could potentially spend some of that money on in my little book fund. And then this next goal sort of ties in with the Count of Monte Cristo goal, and it's again to read 6 books of a particular category, and that is I want to read 6 classics in the coming year. So again, classics are books that I do tend to shy away from. I find the language, the history, the politics, the context to be a little bit intimidating at times, and dare I say it, sometimes I find them to be just a little bit boring. I'm sorry lads, I hated Pride and Prejudice. It was just people going to each other's houses, nothing happened. Loved the film though, funnily enough. Hated the book, but anyway. So I do have some classics on my shelves that I do want to read in the coming year. So obviously the Count of Monte Cristo, as I have mentioned. Another one then is Jane Eyre, and that is obviously by Charlotte Bronte. And believe it or not, this is a book that I have sort of read for my final exams in English in school. I had to study this book. I was 16 doing those exams and I had no interest in Jane Eyre. I loved reading at the time, but I think I only read about 70% of this book. I never actually read how it ended. Now I know how it ended, but I never read it. I just pretended that I did. It did work. I got an A in English and it was by far my best grade in my exams. I was not a very studious student, we'll just put it that way. I do feel now that I'm older, I feel really interested in reading this book. I think I will come to it now with a lot more life experience and a lot more patience as well in a lot of ways. I'm really looking forward to actually picking this one up. I actually have my copy of Jane Eyre from school, and lads, let me tell you, it used to break my heart because the teacher used to tell us to write notes in the margins, and I was like, but you're not supposed to write in books. But yes, that's Jane Eyre. And then another one I have is the infamous White Nights. I feel like it's just been a book that has really been everywhere in 2024, and it's very short, and this has 2 stories in it, I believe, by Dostoevsky, and it is supposed to be a little bit or a lot heartbreaking, so I look forward to that one. Next up then is another book that I did read partially as a teenager and then put down, and this one was for my own enjoyment, and at the time I remember liking it but putting it down and not feeling the urge to pick it back up again, and eventually we fell foul to that and I never finished the book. And of course the book I'm talking about is East of Eden by John Steinbeck, and I hear all the time that this is an absolute masterpiece, and I remember that there was something to do with farming, and that's about all that I remember of it. I really just feel the pull back toward this one again. And then the last classic that I personally own is another bit of a chunk, and as I've mentioned, I did read War and Peace a couple of years ago, so I do know that this author is a little bit wordy and does like to go on a little bit, and that of course is Leo Tolstoy, and the book I'm talking about is Anna Karenina. So once again, this is an infamous classic. It is a bit of a chunk as well, and I look forward to it. I don't know all that much about it. That's Anna Karenina. I am thinking of starting a bit of a reading vlog series, maybe something along the lines of classics for dummies, and I'm not planning on it being too educational. I'm just planning on it being something that I do and you can follow along and laugh at my idiocy if you like. What do you think? Is that something anybody would be interested in, or will I just leave it there? And then another goal that I have that I feel will be quite a bit more fun for me is this year I have read maybe 1 or 2 cozy mystery books, and that is a bit of a theme, a bit of a trope that I want to explore a bit more, because as it turns out I think I love them. I recently read this book. It was a book that you've seen a lot on the internet lately, and it's The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. And I picked this up as a romance book thinking maybe I might enjoy it. I kept seeing it and being like, that just sounds like something I'd really love, but I was worried about the romance aspect of it. Turns out, pals, I had so much fun with this book. I loved it. It was the absolute perfect read for me for this time of year. It was so fun. It was a bit silly. There was definitely mystery. It was really cozy, and of course there was romance in it as well, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it as well. So I want to find more books like this, or just within that sort of cozy mystery theme. There is a book, of course, that keeps coming up when I research this, and that book is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. So again, this is a book that's been on my shelves for quite a while. It was actually a DNF for my mother on her shelves, and she passed it on to me. And what I will say is my mom and I have very different tastes in books, so chances are that I will actually really enjoy this one. So this seems to be the contemporary quintessential cozy mystery book, and we follow a group of older people in a nursing home, I think, who meet on a Thursday to try to solve local mysteries. And this is a whole series and it is very beloved. But if you have any more suggestions for books along these lines, please do let me know. And then my next goal sort of pertains to this channel more so than anything, but also is just a personal goal, because I do feel like when I read I forget a lot. That goal, of course, is to write more notes or more reviews while I'm actually reading a book, because at the end of every month I find I have a big scramble to get my thoughts together about all of the books that I've read in a month to film my wrap-up videos. But the problem is I can't remember what I read at the beginning of the month, and I just want to take some time to even jot down some notes in my notes app or in a notebook just as I read or once I finish the book, because I am so bad at that. I consume books and then my brain just puts them aside. And then keeping with the YouTube side of things, I have really enjoyed having this channel. This has been a real labor of love for me, and I mean that in the best way possible. It has distracted me from issues that affect me in my day-to-day life. I started up this channel as a means to sort of channel some severe anxious energy at the time. It has worked really well. I've really enjoyed it, but I do find often I am very much scrambling to make videos, to come up with ideas. It gets to later in the week and I'm kind of like, I should probably think about making a video for YouTube. During the middle of 2024, I did get quite good at planning my videos, at working them out a lot better before I filmed them, and I feel like I fell off that a lot toward the end of this year, and I think you can tell from my videos. I just don't think they're necessarily as good, and I feel like they're not performing as well, which is fine. That's okay. So basically the goal I want to set is that I want to put aside some actual time every week, be it a Monday or a Thursday or whenever I'm free, a particular time where I say, nope, I'm working on my YouTube channel today, prioritize it over doing other things, be it research, be it filming, be it editing, be it learning how to do more things that pertain to the technical side of filming, etc. When you start a YouTube channel, it is a very steep learning curve. And do let me know if you ever have any ideas or themes or things or topics that you'd like me to cover in my videos, because sometimes I feel like I'm just on a bit of a content mill and I'm just making things and hoping people are interested. But if there's something that you are actually really interested in me talking about, let me know in the comments below. And then friends, last but not least is another goal that I'm pulling forward from 2024, and it's a goal that I have felt has kept me going, has kept me really satisfied, and I've really enjoyed, and that is to continue reading the physical books on my shelves. I started out 2024 with in and around, I think, 120 books. As things currently stand right now, we're down to 65. So I feel really happy about that. And my goal is to get down to a rolling 10 or 15 books. I am a real mood reader, so I find what happens a lot is I buy a book and I'm in the mood for reading that, but then I don't read it for months because I'm reading other books. Then I come back to the book that I bought and I don't feel in the mood for reading it, so it just sits there for a really long time. I have picked these books for myself. I have been gifted these books by people who thought that I would really enjoy these books, so these are likely books that I'm really going to enjoy, so why not read them? That is that in terms of my reading goals for next year. I really look forward to 2025 and where my reading takes me. Let me know what your goals are, or do you have goals? Do you care? Down in the comments below. And friends, as ever, don't forget to subscribe if you want to follow along with how I get on with my goals in 2025. Otherwise, I really want to thank you for being here throughout this year and for sticking with me. I have one more video to come this year, and that will be my top favorite books of 2024. Pals, if you celebrate Christmas, please just do as you please over Christmas and enjoy yourself. Have a lovely time. If you don't celebrate Christmas, have a lovely time anyway. And I'll see you guys next week for another video. Take care. Bye bye.